got a book deal.
Oh my gosh.
I did, by one of the top 5, really one of the top 3 publishing houses in the world. I
Okay.
am so excited.
All right, hold on. Let's get started, and would you share with the four of us?
I will. Thank you, Valerie. I'm so excited.
Is she muted, Tyler?
She is muted. It seems like she is.
All right.
Well, it's recording if you'd like to start.
We said a hello to Valerie, and we realized that she didn't respond because she's muted. Kathy, do you want to go ahead and start?
Yeah. Well, okay. You lead the way.
All right, then, folks. We are delighted to have Kathy Barnette with us. I've had the pleasure of knowing her since, I guess, 2014, when she did a stint broadcasting at WFYL, and really got, I think, that kind of helped get you started in this area. And you broadcasted before in other areas of the country, but when you moved to this area, you were doing a once or twice a week program at WFYL, and also recording the Truth Exchange. And since then, it's been one great thing after another happening to you.
Yeah.
Would you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself, just an abbreviated, and doors that the Lord is opening for you now?
Well, my bio. It's just come from a pig farm in southern Alabama. I had the wonderful opportunity, by the grace of God, to work in a variety of different areas. Right out of college was in the Wall Street area, followed by corporate area. Was an adjunct professor of corporate finance and economics. Moved to this area and spent some time at the Fox affiliate, WFYL. Love the people there, you included. And then started homeschooling right around that same time. Thereafter, the last 2.5 years, I've had the wonderful opportunity of being able to be called in by Fox, primarily Fox and Friends, but you can also see me sometimes on Neil Cavuto and Martha McCallum's show, and just be able to give my opinion, my thoughts on a variety of issues ranging from politics, Trump, the economy, trade, tariffs, culture, whatever the hot potato topic may be at that particular moment. And just recently, I was offered a book deal by one of the top 3 publishing houses in the world. They rank them in the top 5, but this one just so happens to be in the top 3, and I'm so excited and just very excited about the doors of opportunities
that is wonderful. Wonderful. Most people don't know what we're talking about, but did you mention that to Loman Henry?
I don't know.
I'll have to drop that little clue to him. It could be of interest. But anyway, that is amazing news, and congratulations. We can't wait for it to come out whenever.
Thank you.
Schedule that. And I'm thankful that you've taken time out of your very busy schedule to visit with us and bring us a firsthand report from the border, because Kathy, it seems to me there's a whole lot of lying going on in the media. I think you would agree with that. But is there one that's more being distorted than what is going on at our border? And so we'd like to hear from you.
You know, one of the things, and I invited Miss Janie Melendez, and if she's able to get on tonight, she's going to join us. She is one of the moms that I met at the border, at the southern border, when I went down late last year, because I wanted to see for myself. It's one thing to sit in our comfortable suburban environment and to know theoretically what it is we think we know about what's going on at the southern border and what we believe needs to occur. I wanted to go down and actually see it for myself, right? Because for me, it's a no-brainer. If I demand to know who is walking into my home each day, each night, I think as a citizen, I have every right to demand to know who's walking into our country, who's walking across our border. Not only who's coming into our country, but where are they going? How are they going to pay for themselves when they get there, right? How long are they intending to stay? How are they going to contribute? Some of the same questions I would ask a house guest. If I was inviting someone to live in my home, my physical home, wouldn't I ask those questions? Well, how long are you thinking about staying? Are you going to be able to contribute to some of the bills? What are you going, those particular questions. And yet, when we ask those things in today's culture, suddenly we're labeled as racist. We're labeled as intolerant. I mean, these seem like really no-brainer kind of questions, just very rudimentary questions that anyone would ask anyone who was coming to stay in their home overnight or for an extended period of time. And so I think those are the same very relevant question we should ask those who are coming into our country, because lo and behold, America is my home.
And
this
Kathy,
is my home.
And Kathy, when you look at, it was either Hannity or Carlson who played videos from the not too distant past of Clinton, Obama, Hillary, and some others reiterating what you just said, that it is an issue, it isn't a problem, but suddenly it's not.
Yeah, America is not some pipe dream. America is a very real and literal place. We had one former president that made I can't remember his exact quote, but if you Google it, guys, George Bush, he was somewhere. And he made the comment that America is not a specific place. No, America is a specific place. He was trying to elude that America is everyone and America is for everyone. Like, no, America is a literal geographic place with boundaries, right, that contains itself, right? And within that place is me and my family and the ones that I love and my nation. And I have every right to protect the identity of my culture, the various aspects of my culture. I have every right to expect a certain type of culture and to defend that culture. When I was in the military for 10 years, I forgot to mention that in the bio part of it all, but when I was in the military for 10 years, I decided at the ripe old age of 17 that if I was called to if there was a time when I needed to lay down my life for this country, I would. But of course, we're thinking about far off places, Iraq, Iran, Afghanistan, those places, right? If not at our border, if I was willing to defend other countries and our interests in other countries, how much more should I be willing as a veteran to fight and to defend for our own borders, to protect our own borders, to protect our own personal and very imminent interests?
And I would add, Kathy, and I don't want to get off subject, I tend to go down rabbit trails, but based on the vitriol we're hearing over the last couple of weeks from the Covington kids and some of the other stuff, at what I find myself asking myself, at what point does this hate? And I went on Twitter and told a few of them, you are the haters. The divide and the enmity in this country is coming from you. You're the ones who are the dividers. And at what point, when the heart has that much hate in it, Kathy, it's going to spill over. So it seems like we're getting it not just from the border now, but from other places where, as you just said, to lay down your life for your country, it might not just be the border.
Yeah, and a whole lot of things. I think the issue with the Covington high schoolers, I mean, it's such an unfortunate event. Even before the full story came out and it popped up on my screen, my first thought was, those are children. Why are they releasing the names of children? Why is this adult in the face of a child? Why is he beating that drum in a child's face? My first thought was deference to the child, because that's just how we are as people. We recognize that there's a distinction to be made when you're talking to an adult relative to when you're talking to a child, right? There's a certain sense of deference to their age, to their lack of understanding, to me as an adult needing to be the one who brings wisdom and clarity to the situation. So my first thought when I saw this was not, well, let me pile on, because really what the liberal media and most people in our culture unfortunately saw was white boys wearing "Make America Great Again" paraphernalia. That's all they saw. And because of those three things, they're white, they're male,
and
white men are the enemy. And
the hat, Kathy, I think that would.
They have on Trump gear. Now it's suddenly racist. Alyssa Milano said as much, that the red "Make America Great Again" hat is the new white hood, referencing KKK.
You don't even know what to respond to this. I mean, it's like, hello.
That is foolishness, right? But all the mainstream media saw white boys wearing Trump gear and a Native American. Boom, we can make this about racism, right? We don't need to know the facts. We don't need to know what really happened and why this grown man is in the face of these children right now. We don't need to know any of that. We have all the information we need to have, and that is white male Trump gear, and there's a quote unquote protective class that he's smirking in front of. That's all they needed to know, and they were able to use that to tie it back to CCC. It's Trump's fault. CCC, Trump's the racist, right? Had nothing to do with Trump. Trump wasn't even there physically. Doesn't matter.
It's beyond the pale. And then a reporter from Today's Show interviews the kid, and she gets crucified in the press. It's like,
because God forbid she allows a white male wearing Trump gear at a conservative Christian event, because he was there with his class at the pro-life, have a platform on these very liberal cesspools we call mainstream media. God forbid she gives him a platform in that arena and share some truth to their listeners, right? And it's not all the media's fault, because I, as an adult, I have some choices to make. Either I either I will inform myself, or I will just be led by the nose. By whomever is willing to lead me. And so all of the responsibility is not on mainstream media. It is also on we, the people, who tolerate that kind of foolishness. But that's the world in which we find ourselves living in right now.
Yes, we do. And it ties in with the other false narrative that we're getting from the press. And I am very curious to hear what you experienced, what you saw firsthand, and how it stacks up against what the rest of the country is hearing, who hasn't been able to do what you did.
As far as going to the border wall, one of the things that struck me when I got there, let me tell you, I was so hot when I went down to the southern border. It was so hot, and I felt dehydrated. I felt like I just needed to drink water all the time. But I could not stop crying. So whatever water I was drinking, I was spending through tears, because along with me came angel moms. These are the moms who have lost a child due to an illegal alien coming into our country. I was there with Gold Star moms who truly understand the price, the value of freedom, because their children lost their lives. One of their loved ones lost their lives in the military. So they're Gold Star moms. And we had a host of other people there as well. And so I just hearing their stories, getting to know these people and the reality of what it is we're facing at the southern border. And the crisis. It is truly a crisis. At one point, Kim, we were standing at the border at a particular area where there was no wall or fence or high grass or anything. It was just kind of open and clear. And within 30 minutes, 2 illegals joined our group. And apparently that's a strategy because we were a sizable group. And so one of the things they do is try to blend in to the groups, because there were patrol cars going just all over the place. I mean, while we were there, we may have seen about 4 or 5, patrol cars go up and down securing that particular area. And so what they do generally, the illegal, is that if there's a large group of people around that area, they come out of hiding and they try to blend into the group so that the border security don't recognize that these are, they will see them and just think they're part of the overall group. But it was quite clear. It wasn't clear to me because I'm suburban and this isn't my reality. But there were a number of border moms who were there who looked at me and said, Kathy, those are illegals. And then they began to describe, the grass in the hair, the dirty clothes. You could just see the disheveled nature of them. And they looked really sad. I have to tell you, they looked really sad. And then one of the border moms, who is a true cowgirl, walked up to them and said, let me see your papers. They had no papers. And she said, are you an illegal? She's speaking to them in Spanish. They said, yes. She said, I'm going to tell on you. I'm going to report you right now. And she said she too saw this overwhelming sadness in their eyes. And then she looked over.
Heartbreaking.
I'm sorry?
That's heartbreaking.
And then she looked over and saw the angel moms that she had been talking to and saw the sadness. All they have are just pictures of their children on t-shirts. That's all they have, right? And their memories. And they walk around telling people, remember my child, remember my child, remember my child, right? Their lives did not have to be taken. It wasn't necessary that they had to die, right? That they had to leave. And so, but that was just one case that we saw. Within less than 30 minutes, 2 illegals joined my group. It's like, wait a minute, what's going on here? And it was right across from an elementary school. That's their reality.
Okay. It certainly isn't something I've ever experienced before, obviously, and I'm not used to, and I'm certainly am not uncompassionate, but I had caught a clip of the Texas, I think it was the Attorney General, who spoke on either, once again, Tucker or Hannity, and basically said, Kathy, bringing the whole world to America isn't going to help America, the world with its problems. Essentially, as difficult times this country is going in, our system is the best system in the world, our free enterprise.
Yeah,
exporting that.
Statistically, there are over 1 billion people who are living in dire poverty in the world. Are we obligated to bring in 1 billion people? I mean, are we obligated? I mean,
like them, and then what good are we to anybody at that point?
Get your mind around that. We have limited resources, right? Think about that. There are 1 billion people living in dire poverty. Are we obligated to bring all 1 billion in? If I say no to any one of those billions, am I a racist? Am I intolerant? Am I hateful?
I'd like to turn that around, Kathy, and find out, if I understand correctly, we are the only country who has such lax immigration practices. Do you happen to know if that's true?
I don't know if that's true, but I do know, because I pulled it up, the very rigorous vetting it would take if I wanted to go into Iran, for example. I can't just walk into Iran. I went and I pulled their immigration requirements just to see. It is quite rigorous. I would challenge your listeners to also go out there and take a look at that. And listen to this. Not only do we have some lax immigration rules. I'm not sure how lax they are relative to other countries in the world. However, we know they're pretty lax, right? When you have a system where it is what they call the lottery, you just throw some names in a bucket and pull it out. What? We are the greatest country in the world. It should be a little bit more rigorous than me just pulling a name out of a hat to see who gets to come in and enjoy all of this, right? People are dying to get into this country, and we're so relaxed that we just have a bucket with some names you just draw it out of. That's lunacy. That's foolishness on the highest level. But not only do we have relaxed immigration rules, but we're very generous with allowing people legally to come into our nation. We allow over 1 million people to become legalized residents every single year. You don't have 1 million people becoming legalized residents in Iran, any part of Africa, any part of the Middle East, right? Maybe Israel. But we have over 1 million people that we every year, this not every 3 years, every year, over 1 million people who are allowed to come into our nation and legally, right? And when you have illegals coming in, what's the point of trying to do something legally? What's the point of that?
Yeah, I could not agree with you more wholeheartedly. As you're talking, Kathy, shame on those politicians that say there's nothing great about America, there's nothing exceptional about it, who denigrate it, who put it down. I don't think they should hold public office if they're going to say things like that. But clearly there's got to be another way to help the peoples of the world. And one way I think America helps is in part, look what missionaries do when they go around the world. Yes, we know they go out first and foremost to teach the gospel, but they take with that, contained in the Bible, is what our founders saw in that, pulled from that, is the precepts of liberty and limited self-government, and the idea of people working, not living under a caste system where the few are the rich and everybody else are serfs. You don't see that in the Bible. You see the pursuit of life, liberty, and happiness. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I will second that. If someone doesn't think America is great and they are representing us in any fashion, we should truly take a look at that and be very mindful of that. There's a reason why mothers place their babies in the back of meat trucks, knowing that the odds of them making it here is very slim. There's a reason why even in these various caravans that are coming up, there are a lot of unaccompanied children.
What is up with that, Kathy?
I cannot remember the actual number. I don't want to walk away from my computer, but I have it written down somewhere. But Kristen Nielsen, Homeland Security, in this last, when there was this big uproar about President Trump separating parents from their children, I think she said there were 10,000 unaccompanied children.
Are they orphans?
And only 2,000 had parents that had been separated. So the overwhelming majority, I do not remember the exact numbers, but it was something around those fringes, and I will be more than happy to verify that with you guys, or to come back and bring that information, because I wrote it down when she gave that briefing, because everyone was focused on the 2,000 children that President Trump has separated from their parents. But then the overwhelming majority of the 10,000 came here unaccompanied with no parents at all. And many of those parents, not saying all, but many of those parents, because we've heard some stories, is that their situation where they're living, Ecuador, Guatemala, Venezuela, wherever they may be coming from, is so dire.
Wow.
They're so desperate.
They can't afford
that they are willing to allow their children to go off into the wind with the hope that they make it to America. And it really helped frame actually, you can go to foxnews.com. I wrote an article about this. So you can, about my thinking on this, because I am very adamant about protecting our southern border. But as I was thinking about it, and the thought came to me, what scenario must exist for me as a mother to send my children off into the wind? And as I sat there trying to think of what scenario, what situations, what must my circumstances be? How desperate must I be as a mother to send my children, just to cast them out into the wind and hope, cross my finger, hope to die that they make it into America, right? How desperate must I be? And as I sat and thought about that, I mean, the situation must be, I mean, I don't think we have the vocabulary to fully express the despair that these parents, mothers specifically, must be enduring in order to allow their children just to cast them out into the wind. So when I see politicians in our country say, oh, America's not that great, oh, there's nothing exceptional about America, I reference those people. It must be something amazingly. America has always been a beacon set up on the hill for the desperate. Even on our Statue of Liberty, she says, send me your weak, your poor, your desperate, right? And she has always been that beacon of light to those who.
And still is today.
I'm sorry?
Still is today, Kathy.
Still to this day, and we have verifiable proof when we look at quantifiable evidence, when we look at the mothers who are putting their children in the back of meat trucks. I just read a story not too long ago of that happening. I mean, these are sweat boxes. People die generally when they're placed in the back of that, going across the desert. I was in southern Texas and felt dehydrated. And I'm drinking water left and right. Can you imagine stuffing me on the back of a meat truck with like 20, 30 other people back there?
No.
Okay, so other people, and I'm telling you, we as Americans, we need to travel abroad. Being in the military afforded me the opportunity to go into countries and into places I would never otherwise have gotten to go and see. And it's when you go into those environments do you begin to realize just how great America really is, and just how it's my job to protect it. So when I see people trying to denigrate America, trying to destroy the very principles upon which we're founded upon which we exist, there is no America without the Constitution. So when I see people trying to destroy the Constitution or open the Constitution up, it causes me to pause. It causes me to say, wait a minute, what are you doing? No, I don't think we should do some of these things, right?
And Kathy, we both know that the countries these people are coming from are socialist Marxist countries. And so it must, when you hear these younger Democrats singing the praises of socialism, after seeing what you just saw and describing it for us, is it harder for you to hear after your return from your trip to the border, when you know that these people...
let me tell you, I have zero tolerance. I have zero tolerance for someone sitting next to me at Fox or wherever it is, talking about, how we should open up the border. Go and look. I have it out there on my website a little bit later today. You can go to kathybarnette.com, kathybarnette.com, and I was on Fox, I think it was yesterday. The days are getting blurred for me now. And I was having that very debate when someone was trying to talk about the border and talk about, no, I went to the southern border. I have zero tolerance for any kind of foolishness. While we're up here sipping our tea, if Janie is able to get on, she's one of the mothers who says she sleeps with an AR-15 next to her in her bed, because it is not uncommon for an illegal to walk right into your home. We took Janie and several other of the border moms out to dinner, and they kept looking at their phone, so much so that it caused us to say, whatever are you keep looking at the phone? It's because they have not only security cameras outside of their homes, but they have security cameras inside of their home, because it was late at night that we were out, and they were going to be going back into their homes, and they wanted to make sure that when they walked into their homes, there were no people in their home, no illegals in there, because that is not uncommon for them. And so when I see people say, hey, that's not loving, that's not kind, you need to be more tolerant. I have zero tolerance for that. I have 0 minutes to give to someone who wants to have that level of a conversation, because I clearly know right now you're ignorant. And if you're not ignorant, even worse, you're doing it intentionally.
Yes.
You're trying to harm our country intentionally. Yes. And we do have those people in the mix. Because
Thank you for saying that.
Because although these illegals cannot vote, maybe right away, what they do allow is that they become a part of the census. They become a part of the or determining where the districts will be when they want to redistrict.
Well, you are, Kathy, man, you are so spot on. Your analysis is just it's the truth, and I'm gonna take this podcast and I'm gonna spread it out to as many people as I can, because there's an agenda going on, Kathy. You can speak to that. I know you can. We're seeing it in Pennsylvania with the governor that we have of planting these Democrat voters. And if you continue to open the border and let the world come in, what you just described about these women, the way they're living, seems to me that could easily happen around the country.
Hello?
Okay, so I'm not overstating?
No, exactly. No, you're right. Because one of the moms said to me, it's so apropos that you would even say that. One of the moms said to me, Kathy, if these people who are in these caravans are willing to walk thousands of miles to get to my back door, what do you think will prevent them from walking a couple of hundred more to get to your back door?
That's an amazing point. And I hope you're doing that on Fox. Are they allowing you to say these things on Fox and bringing it out?
When I first came back from the southern border, my thought was, I don't care why they're bringing me on. I'm going to be talking about the southern border wall. So I made it. I made it a part of my conversation. And like I said, yesterday, I believe I was on. I made it a part of my conversation yesterday as well, because I was there. I saw for myself. You cannot tell me this is not a crisis. This is a crisis. One thing that is very interesting, and hopefully you and your listeners will pay closer attention to this after I say it, is that we have yet to hear stories from the perspective of those who are actually living at the southern border. We get a tremendous amount of stories from the politicians who are living in their gated communities. Mm-hmm. We get a ton of coverage and perspective from the illegals who are trying to get in. We actually send people into the caravans and to stay with the caravan as they're moving up from Ecuador up to America to get their perspective. We even get the perspective of people who live in Mexico, in Tijuana, just to hear, how the illegals are impacting their community. We have yet to hear any news outlets talk to us from the perspective of the moms who are living on the southern border. These are our fellow Americans, and the ones I spoke to want no part of these caravans coming into their back door.
And again, let me, Kathy, let me interrupt you for a minute. Anybody who's in the conversation, type a message if you want a specific question for Kathy, and I'll read it to her. But thank you again, because only a trickle of people have had the courage to say that the citizens, including Mexican Americans, do not want these people. Yeah. And you have just described in detail why. I didn't know they were living in literal fear of their lives. I didn't know that. Why? I wonder why a conservative journalist hasn't written about this.
Because no one's interested in that story, essentially, basically. No one is interested in hearing about the moms who live on the southern border. It doesn't get as many clicks as if you're listening to an illegal talk or to one of our politicians talk. But those are the stories, and that's why I said it's not all mainstream media's fault. I, as a resident, need to, as a citizen, need to become more aware. When I talk to Americans and I ask them something about politics and they say, oh, I don't really follow politics. I don't really, I don't want to get involved. And my immediate response to them is, well, you should. This is your home. People are making decisions that are going to impact you and how you want to live your life and raise up your children, where you can live. They're making choices. You should be a part of that. You don't have to. True, I am addicted to politics. I read it even when I have no reason to be reading it. It is something that is, I'm about to write a book about it, right? So yes, I'm not expecting people to be as invested in the world of politics and economics and geopolitical conversations as I am. But every American should know about the government shutdown. Every American should know that Nancy Pelosi just disinvited our president from speaking at the House. Every American should know, about the Covington Catholic high school boys and the full story of that. There are things we should just know. Every American should know that New York just passed yesterday a bill, and the governor signed it into law, that allows a mother to abort her baby in the last term of pregnancy. Every American should know that. Every American should know that, right? Because these things impact us. These things are not, we're not living in bubbles. The things that happen outside of your quote unquote bubble will impact you and will impact your family.
Kathy, I, for one, and I'm going to put Valerie on the spot because she is super connected. I'd love to see you go to Harrisburg and do a report in the rotunda and contact as many of our elected representatives and senators to come in and sit and hear you just share what you just did. And I think it starts locally, which is Harrisburg. What are your thoughts on that? How effective would that be, do you think, would you project?
What?
To take this to Harrisburg, to schedule
yes.
where you can share.
Yes, we should be in their faces on all things. When I was in Illinois, I didn't even know I was an activist when I was an activist. It just seemed like this is what we should be doing. So I remember chartering I had nothing. I had no television program. I had no radio program. I was just a mom with 2 babies, infant. I think my oldest at the time was 5. And in Illinois, they were debating about a bill that was going to have a very real impact on my life as a citizen of that state. And I chartered a bus and I loaded people on that bus and I took them to the state capitol, and I walked them around the hall. It was my first time doing it, but I showed up like a boss lady, like, you represent me and you need to know I don't want that bill. You need to vote no on that. What are you doing? Why are you doing that?
I like it, Kathy. The people are the king. And if you shared your heart just like you did now with these representatives and these senators and hear the firsthand experience, and let people hear it. Maybe a movement across the country could start here. Maybe we can have conversations on solutions. This is a complex issue. And, but having the entire world pour into our southern border and eventually ruin the country, then you help nobody. Then, you spread the misery, then everybody's miserable. And we just have a bunch of people, Kathy, it seems to me, in positions of power who don't seem to have a clue. All they care about is bringing in voters to keep them in their.
That's all they care about: power and money. And money gives them power. Votes give them power. They don't care. But I don't care if they don't care. We need to make them care, right? Because we are voters and we should have some really big mouths. This is our country. I don't have a problem with someone calling me a big mouth. Or saying I'm very opinionated. I get people say, or I'm very judgmental. I get people calling me judgmental all the time, and my response is, yes, I'm judging. Yes, I'm judging. I own it.
You have a brain. You're making decisions. This is good.
I'm making decisions. You
know,
cannot bring me. You cannot bring me. You cannot bring trash into my life and think I'm not going to comment on it. You bring foolishness to my front door, I'm going to comment on it. There were 3,000 people in this last caravan trying to get into the southern border. If 3,000 people were standing outside of my front door, I would consider that an invasion. I would consider that a crisis situation. And for some reason, we have people who sit high, look low, with their, as they sit in their gated communities. Nancy Pelosi and her big wall around her community, and they look down on us and tell us, no, see, you're not smart enough. No. If you knew what I knew, which is basically saying you're dumb and I'm smarter than you.
You're right.
Who sit and say, no, see, you're intolerant, you're racist, the wall is immoral, yet you have a wall around your house.
And security guards too, yes.
I don't understand that. And the fact that we allow it. Remember, when I was growing up, we had a very popular saying, which was, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words would never hurt me. And today, we have grown folks who would rather you pluck out their left eye than you call them intolerant, who would prefer to give up their firstborn child before allowing you to call them racist of all things. Who cares? Unless you are a racist, then you need to check that. But who cares if someone is calling you a bad name? Get over it. Don't even respond to it. Someone call you racist? Yeah. Look, we need a southern border wall. You're intolerant. Yeah. Whatever. Still, we need a southern border wall. We need
you're not going to shut me down by calling me names. We're not going to stop the conversation, a much needed conversation, by discussing a topic that is desperately in need of conversation. Real quick, Kathy, Valerie is asking you if you spoke with any border agents, and she's asking, are they disheartened?
We did speak to a border agent when the two illegals joined our group. I did not ask them how do they feel about, because this was very alarming to me, that two illegals was right here in our group, and there's a middle school, elementary school, like maybe 10 steps away from where I was standing. And I'm right here on the border now. I'm looking for other people. Like, well, who else is out here? I think it just, but we talked to them, and they were, what I noticed when we talked to them about it, the first thing when we went up and said to them, there are two illegals right here that just joined our group. The first thing they asked us was, well, how do you know they're illegals? I can appreciate that. They weren't guns blazing. They weren't rushed to judgment. They were like, well, how do you know they're illegals? Well, because we asked for their papers and they don't have it. Okay. Well, then they walk up and then they go and they talk, and then you see them pulling the people. I think I have this on my Facebook page. If you go to Kathy Barnette for Truth, Kathy Barnette for Truth, I took so much video footage, and I posted it there. You also see me at one spot. I went to a house where there is just a chicken wire separating our country from Mexico. There's no high grass, there's no border wall. It was chicken wire, and you see me grab the chicken wire and shake the chicken wire. This is what's protecting us. And this lady that I was in her backyard saying she cuts her grass with an AR-15 on her back. Go figure. How would you like that?
I can't.
Not enough. Just walking out there. Can you imagine cutting grass and with the AR-15 strapped to you?
No.
Because you just never know. I point to the tree that she was telling me about, where routinely illegal men hide under that tree, and some of them have given her this slit your throat sign if you say anything, right? This is how they're living. You won't hear about that. I went, saw it for myself, talked to the people. I know this is their reality. And it broke my heart as I thought, I'm getting ready to get on a plane, and
Los Angeles is worse. I know this, but
nice order. I love or no. I don't like the maybes. I don't like riding the fence. I don't ride the fence in any area of my life, really, except for, you know, eating something I probably shouldn't eat. But I like black or white. I don't like gray areas. But one of the things I'm realizing is that nothing we see is as clean cut as we would like to think that it is. Nothing is, you know, isolated. Everything has tentacles that just kind of branches out and touches everything else. And my realization of that is, as I realized, these people, these illegals who are coming into our country, where do you think they go to live? They do not go into the suburbs to live. They go into communities that are already struggling, that are already at risk communities, high crime, high poverty, low unemployment, low home ownership, bad roads, bad schools. And they go into these communities, they suck up the resources from those communities that are already given to these at-risk. The at-risk communities already have issues. That's why they're at risk. High crime, bullets flying everywhere. Babies can't walk outside across the street without catching a bullet. Can't read a book in their home without bullets flying in through the walls and killing the poor kids. And so, and resources are going there, and the resources aren't enough for those people. No. Then you have these illegals who are not going into Nancy Pelosi's community, who are not coming into my community and up here in the suburb. They're going into these already at-risk communities, making a bad situation even worse. And it's a $50 word they call re-gentrification. It's the killing off of the people who are living there to make room for the others. Doesn't matter, right? I mean, you're just bringing them right on in.
Are you talking about the 10 cities in California where citizens have been displaced and they're living in the street in California?
But you want me to make rooms for illegals. I mean, yes, it's bad what these people have to contend with. Many of them, I believe, are earnestly looking for a safe place, earnestly looking for a better life.
And Kathy, I want to hear you talk about these areas. What are the politics there? Who's running these areas? Is it Democrat ideas or Republican ideas?
I have yet to find an inner city ran by conservatives.
Wow.
I have yet, and that's what I tell my Black friends all the time who just love the Democrat Party, love sucking the milk from the tit of the Democrat Party. Your life has not improved at all. I bring many of them out of that environment, bring them over here into the suburbs, and I say, look around. You're not gonna have to duck and look over your shoulder every 3 seconds in my neighborhood. When I drive into your neighborhood, I have to schedule a car alignment because the potholes are so big. It's just destroying my cars. You see, my streets are really nice. What's the difference here? What's the difference in the politics here? What's really going on? And is it because you're not expecting much from your politicians, and that's the reason why they're not giving you much? It's those hard, uncomfortable conversations we need to start having with our fellow Americans. We need to stop patting people on the shoulder and saying there it's going to be okay. No, it's not going to be okay. We have a hard left who are gunning to upend our country. They don't like apparently anything about America, although they have been the beneficiaries of America and of capitalism. These people are not playing, and they have listeners. People are listening to them. And so we who know better need to wake up and get engaged and start having these conversations. And I have these conversations all the time, and I have yet to have anyone throw something in my face or be really rude to me. And it could be because I'm Black, and because I'm Black, for you white people out there, I get to say things you don't get to say. I didn't make that rule up.
It is what it is.
I didn't make that rule up. It just is what it is. But I take full advantage of the color of my skin. I think it's foolish, but I take full advantage.
This is why the Lord made you the gender and the color you are and gave you the gifts that you have. But I would also say that you speak with love and compassion.
Yes.
And you really provoke people to think through the issues. And I so appreciate that. You know, think about the end results of this. Think about the next generation. Think about where this is taking you. We're not saying one system is perfect and the other is not. We're saying one system is far better. When you study the history of the Black community, before Johnson introduced welfare, they were doing better economically and socially than the white community. Can you speak to that just a little bit?
Well, let me just say, Janie is trying, she is on Zoom. I don't know if you see her. She says, see you and me, but I don't see her name. Let me see.
I don't either.
What's your name?
Janie, what is your name on Zoom?
There's Robin, Nancy, Greg, Diane, and Valerie.
Kathy, she doesn't appear to be here. Anyone else have questions can type them in, and Kathy will pass them on to Kathy. You want to just complete that thought, and then when she comes in, you can just let her jump in?
Yes, I was just looking to see. There was just a message that I got from her right there. So I'm not sure what her name is on here, but she said, I am on already.
Oh.
I am not familiar with Zoom. I can see you and Kim.
Can you hear us? Jamie?
Janie,
I'm sorry. Janie, welcome. Tyler?
I'm not seeing her. There's Robin, Nancy, Greg, Diane, and Valerie. What's her name here? And is she definitely in here?
Okay, well, she has Janie. Sorry, I had to log off. I am in another meeting.
All right.
I don't know. Okay, maybe she'll come back. I sent her the right Zoom, so we will see.
We've got another question for you, Kathy. Can I interrupt before you continue?
Yes.
We'd like to know about your book and what it's going to be about. Would you take some time to speak to that?
Yes, I'm so excited. I cannot give the name of my book yet. The ink is not dry on the contract, so apparently I have to wait on that. However, I can give you somewhat of the premise. I have a very unique premise. So the book is going to be somewhat of a biography. It's going to talk about, you know, my evolution, I guess, for lack of a better word, of seeing the world the way that I see the world. A lot of funny stories, a lot of very tender moments in there as well. But you know, one of the things that is undeniable, dating back to LBJ and his utopian society for the Black community primarily, is that it has not worked. And what the Democrats have perfected in the Black community is promising a lot and doing very little. And now, and they use a variety of tools and strategies to get people to become dependent on them. And the people's situation denigrates and never improves, whereas the Democrat gets exactly what they want: more and more power, more and more control. And now that they've perfected it within the microcosm of the Black community, I see that those same strategies are now spilling out of the Black community and into the larger community. So a lot of the things we see with this identity politics and racism, I mean, these are the things that they used against or within the Black community. Oh, you don't want to vote for the white man. Oh, you don't want to vote for that party because they're racist. Labeling people racist, and then that garners more and more control or more allegiance to the Democratic Party. And so anyway, so taking my story as a young girl growing up in a very impoverished situation in Southern Alabama on a pig farm, talk about my genesis of how I got to how I even arrived on the planet to begin with is a little bit unique from that perspective as well. And, but then just how I've moved in various pockets, and I've seen what the Democrat Party has had to offer the Black community, and now is spilling out into the larger community, a community in which I love, my American community, and just kind of sounding a siren, an alarm of, I could tell you what the outcome of the Democratic Party's agenda has been in the Black community. So I can assure you the larger American community is going to reap the exact same results.
Kathy, you're being asked if you ever were a Democrat. Was there a time when you bought into that and you evolved?
Yes, I'm Black. So 97% of us
are Democrat.
Are Democrat. It really is true. You're born a Democrat in the Black community. And for that loyalty, what did we get? Not much.
More poverty.
I'm sorry?
More poverty, huh?
More poverty, more crime. You can't even walk your child down the streets. I was reading a news article out of Chicago where a father said he was just walking his daughter down the street and his daughter got shot when they did a drive-by on him. And others saying that their kids don't know what it means to ride their bikes outside.
That's a shame.
My babies ride their bikes all the time outside in their front yard, right? And never think twice about it. But that is what we have gotten in the predominantly Black communities for their loyalty to the Democrat Party. So of course, there's a 97% chance when you meet a Black person, they're a Democrat. And then you get the 3%ers like myself now who are not a Democrat. There is no way I would vote for the foolishness. And like I explained to my family, who are all, I'm the only out of the closet conservative Republican in my family, and to be honest, I'm not even a Republican. It's just that there is not a conservative constitutionalist party. And so therefore I tend to vote Republican because it's the closest thing to it. But like I explained to my Black family, is that it's not that your values have changed. My family grew up in the very deep South. They're very conservative people. It's not that your values have changed. It's just that your party no longer represents you. The party has changed. The party has taken a very hard left. And you have to look at those things. And so one of the techniques or strategies that I use is just kind of bringing up some of those policies that I know my family don't agree with, and they would never agree with those things, and just kind of putting it in their face and allowing them to see just where their party has gone. And do you really represent that?
Are you saying we're hearing that there's a lot of in the Black community walking away from the Democrat Party? Is that true? Is that hyped?
I think so. Yeah, there's a Blexit and several others. But I think as we begin to continue to, just present the truth and the facts, President Trump, he's ingenious. I love him. I have to say, I'm so grateful. And I'm skeptical of all politicians. A politician, how do you know they're lying when their lips are moving? And so I'm skeptical of all politicians. And yet I have such great admiration and respect for our current president, and I'm so very grateful for him. I see him as a reprieve. We deserved Hillary Clinton. Make no mistake about it. We deserved her murdering babies as we murdered them, and a variety of other agendas that we've just rolled over and have allowed to just permeate and become a staple within our society. We deserved to get Hillary. But I'm so grateful to God that he gave us a reprieve.
He was merciful.
He did not give us
what we deserved.
Who we deserved. We deserved her. But I'm so grateful to God that we did not get her. And so now under President Trump, I believe we have a reprieve. I don't know how long that reprieve is, but I believe now is the time, if we're going to do anything, that we are to do it now.
Another question for you, Kathy. some of the moms here, their kids are getting, they're hearing about the wall in school, and they have parents who are on both sides of the issues. What do your kids think?
My kids grow up in this house. So my babies are very much, they very much appreciate President Trump. They very much appreciate the wall and the reasons behind the walls. My children, they speak about it, they talk about it, and I equip them with it. I don't just let them walk out into the wind and whatever comes out of their mind. They're children. Foolishness is trapped in their heart. It is our jobs to
drive it out.
Listen, someone is going to write on your child's heart and mind. Someone is going to, what's the word people always say? We don't, with when it concerns children, we don't want to I can't even think of the word that people use, but I very much do that, whatever that word is, I can't think of right now. But it is my job to instruct my children on the way that they should go. I believe truth actually exists. It is not an adjective, it is a noun in this house. It actually exists. And it is our jobs to find out what is truth, to know it. The word of God says to wrap it around your neck and to meditate on it day and night as you walk in and out of the house, to look at it and to know it. And this is my job, my husband's and my job as parents, is to discern what is truthful. And we don't just do it when it comes to the Bible. We do it in every area of our lives. We're teaching our children, you are not to go out witnessing to people. You are to be a witness. This is who you are. Your life is a witness. We don't go out quoting scriptures and reading the Bible to people. We are scripture. We're walking testament of the power of God and what he can do and what truth is and what it is we are to do. It is our job. Yes. If you want to call it indoctrination, I own it. I'm indoctrinating my children. Let me tell you, if you think the school system is not indoctrinating your children, I pulled my kids out of school when I realized they were teaching them about same-sex marriage. They have a dedicated school counselor who comes in and was talking to my children twice a week about different family configurations, in addition to a lot of other foolish things.
I've seen the videos, and yes, you're right. That is.
So if you don't indoctrinate, someone else is. I suggest you indoctrinate your own children on what it is what we believe in this house.
Extremely well said, Kathy. I gave total agreement with you. Here's another question for you.
Give me 1 second. My computer is about to go out, and I have to charge it. 1 moment.
All right. Do what you got to do there.
Here I am.
Hi, Kathy. Welcome back. 1 minute intermission. But we have one of our panelists is asking you, and I'm sure you know, white progressives. I'm sure you do. And do you think that they chose liberalism because they think that they are more charitable? Are Christians falling for the progressive rhetoric?
So what is the question? Do we think what?
The white people that you know that are progressives, do you think that they think that this is the way to go, choosing liberalism because it makes them more charitable?
Some of them, yes. It sounds pretty. Listen, socialism, I define as socialism is for people who like pretty words. Doesn't socialism sound so pretty?
Joe, who doesn't want to be progressive?
Free healthcare. Who doesn't want free healthcare? Free education. Everyone gets minimum wage of $24 an hour. Everyone gets a guaranteed job. That's the latest one, right? Government job. I mean, that's what our, what's her name? AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is saying, free. Who doesn't like free? free. But many years ago, I read a book by Thomas Sowell, the man is so prolific and wise economist. And he wrote a book called Beyond Stage One Thinking. Stage one thinking says, free, yes, I want free. But then stage two thinking says, well, but how are we going to pay for free? Because free ain't free. There's nothing free.
Someone's paying for
Who's
it.
going to pay for it? And on AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, her free universal health care comes with a price tag of $32 trillion. Yes, ding, ding, ding. Wow. Amazing. And she has no idea how to pay for it. It's ludicrous. It is crazy. And yet, but it sounds so pretty. And so, yes, some white people just want to, it just sounds nice, right? It sounds pretty, and I don't, and I just want to kind of stick my head in the sand and just kind of, just live in my bubble and be nice and smile. But you have people who are trying to upend your world. You just don't know yet how allowing 3,000, that was in the first wave. There's 3 more caravans coming up to America now. You just haven't thought beyond stage one of what it really means to have 6,000, 10,000, 20,000, 50,000, 100,000 illegals just walking into your world, and how that gives votes for a particular party that wants to just do away. You had Beto O'Rourke a couple of weeks ago say that the Constitution, that we have evolved beyond the Constitution.
Scary stuff, Kathy.
This man is looking to run for president, and he was like, I think we move beyond the Constitution. The Constitution was made by old white men. We need to move beyond that. Beyond that and into what?
Thank you for bringing this up. We talk about this on the station, and we talk about this here, but these ideas need to be discussed, because I've had some people say to me, oh, it's just a few of them. Don't say that. This is where these things start, where you have people throwing things out like get rid of the Constitution. Some of the negative things we're hearing about the First Amendment, the Second Amendment. And they're testing the waters. There's a plan here in action. We know that. And another good question that's come up is, do you see people of faith falling for the progressive rhetoric? Are you seeing that in evangelical circles?
Oh, yeah, I do. Because again, Jesus is love. That's my favorite. God is love. Oh, I cannot stand it. I'm being very cynical. Yes, God is love, but he is so much more than just love. In fact, above love, God is holy. And we need to do some real deep dives on what that means. He can only be so holy. He cannot be so loving that it extends beyond his holiness. He cannot be so faithful that it goes beyond his holiness. He cannot be so merciful that it extends beyond his holiness. You never heard an angel say love, 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 or mercy, mercy, mercy. They said holy, holy, holy. And that means something in the Hebrew language. To say something more than once is to put great emphasis on that thing. And to say it 3 times is to say, oh my goodness, this is the epitome of something, right? God is holy, and his holiness defines every other attribute about him. So when we walk around as Christians with a very rudimentary understanding of the Bible, talking about, well, God is love, no, you need to rethink that. Don't judge. And I would strongly admonish you to read all of Matthew chapter 7, and not just the letters that said don't judge. So we need to be very mindful of that.
Great, wonderful, terrific, Kathy. You're hitting on so many points tonight. We spent the lion's share talking about the border issue, but yes, this chipping away of our Americanism, of our constitutional republic by a party at this point, folks. And if anyone disagrees with me, please enter in on the comment line. But I think we would all say at this point, based on actions, that our modern day DNC, the head of the DNC are Marxist. Kathy, would you comment on that? Yay, nay?
I don't know. I don't know. But it is it's very telling when I hear some people say, you know, well, we're all Americans. We all love this country. No, we
No,
don't. We don't. And we need to be quick to point that out, right?
based on what I read and see from the leadership of the DNC, I won't even use the term socialism anymore. I use Marxist. These people and are classic Marxists, classic Alinsky. And the shame of it is that too many of us don't recognize it because we haven't been taught to look for the telltale signs. And we need to have conversations about that so we can inform people without sounding like historical lunatics, have the facts on our side. And Kathy, you've done a marvelous job this evening. I'm so grateful for you coming on. I know you're up against a hard break. Is there any closing thoughts that you would like to share? And anybody who has any more questions or comments, this would be the time.
No, Kim, thank you so much for bringing me on. I truly appreciate this. Have me on again. Please go out to Kathy for Truth if you're on Twitter.
And that's the number 4, correct?
Yeah, the number 4, Kathy, the number 4 Truth on Twitter. That's my handle, Kathy for Truth. Or go to Kathy Barnette for Truth on Facebook and catch up with me. Also go to my website, kathybarnette.com. You can enter, there a pop-up will present itself for you to put in your email address so we can stay in touch.
Yes, everybody do that. Kathy, just forgive me for gushing, but I just love hearing from you and sharing. And we here at COTC, one of our hallmarks is that we just don't talk, we want to do. And we'll talk later, but if anybody else here, and Kathy including you, we'd like to take this conversation to Harrisburg. Is that something that you would want to start organizing and planning on doing along with us? I
would love that.
Okay. I can't speak for everybody else in the conversation, but if you're in on that, and we can start talking to our own representatives and our senators and plan a meeting so we can hear a firsthand account from a Pennsylvania citizen, I'd like to be a part of that.
I would too. Please
keep
me in mind. Thank you so much. Bye, everyone.
Thank you for joining, everybody. Thank you so much. Have a good evening. Thank you, Kathy. Bye.